That's crazy.
So let me start by introducing you. I am now interviewing the amazing and talented Michael Galvin. We have decided you are the mad scientist of metal clay, innovator, and data fiend.
Yeah, that's pretty appropriate.
I understand you've been working with Project X on a screw top vessel project. Would you care to sort of bring us all up to speed on it?
I've done a lot of screw top vessels, and I didn't start a Project X specific screw top vessel, but I've done a bunch, and it's documented. And I uploaded to Joanna Phillips' site, Metal Clay World. There's a PDF in there with a bunch of photos on the different ways of screw tops. But yeah, the history of making weird stuff. Big vessels, goblets, hip flasks, things that typically aren't made out of metal clay.
Nice.
I did start making a Project X Pez dispenser, but I didn't quite finish it. So it's not here today. It'll be done eventually. But I like great stuff. I'm not as artistic as you are. I'm more of an engineer. That's my background, not artistic. I don't really have any financial interest in metal clay. I don't sell my work. I give it away. I don't generally take classes or teach it. A couple of teaching things, but not much. Just basic metal clay and over favors to friends. So I don't know how we're going to work this. Carrie and I were arguing about it a little bit. I said, I can't make a screw top vessel in an hour. You know,
well, this isn't about you doing a demo. This is more talking about you, your background with metal clay and overall fabrication, and then what you sort of discovered about the whole properties and pluses and minuses of Project X. So let's go back into your background. You said you came from an engineering background.
Yeah, I started life
Go ahead.
Started life as a materials development engineer in aerospace. So there's really some, and this is years and years ago. I haven't done that for a long time now. But it was composites, carbon fiber graphite on the B-2 stealth bomber. And top secret. It was new materials that no one ever used before. And the computer spits out a drawing, and then you try and figure out how to make it. So it was like a toy shop. It was a lot of fun. There's a lot of similarities between composites and metal clay. It's heat cured, so it goes into autoclave, and you use pressure and heat to cure the composite. And they use composites because radar goes through it. It's invisible to radar. They make the plane invisible. You know, it's the size of a 737, but has the radar profile of a bumblebee. Just doesn't exist. And from there, I did that for 15 years, and that was right out of school. And then I moved to Michigan. I grew up and born and raised in California, and moved back to Michigan. And don't ask me why; it was a crazy thing to do. But switched fields into automotive, and started in automotive engineering, and then very quickly went into operations management and ended up owning some businesses. Fairly large operations. One plant we had, my partner and I, it was 14,000 engine blocks a day. That's very, very high volume. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, never stops. It came straight from the foundry, which was about 10 miles away, and over to us, and we did some machining and cleaning and powder coating on it. And then out the door within a day. So you're talking like 90 semis a day full of engine blocks. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Multiple different automotive disciplines: machining, injection molded plastics. Just all operations are pretty much the same. It's all the same. I even own 5 pizza places along the way. It's not any different.
Different hats.
Yeah, a lot of different things. And I raced jet skis professionally for a little bit. Not as a job, but you were considered a professional. I got T-boned and screwed up my leg in a major way, so that kind of ended that. I'm too old for that now anyway. But the metal clay, my father was an industrial arts teacher. So he taught metal shop, wood shop, crafts. So I was exposed to all of it very young. I did my first box casting when I was 8 years old. learned to cut stones, I was cutting opals when I was 10. I don't cut stones anymore. And I got into jewelry, and I got into lost wax casting and sand casting, and did that up until about my 30s, which was a very long time ago. And got out of jewelry completely, didn't touch it again. And by chance, saw a video. Someone actually had a DVD. It was a lesson on metal clay. And I was kind of thinking about getting back into lost wax, but the equipment's cumbersome, takes a lot of space. Oh, this is cool. I can do it part-time at the kitchen table. It's not going to take a lot of equipment. And that's why my basement's full of metal clay equipment now. Space. I don't need any tools. Yeah, those are famous last words. I think in the long run it would have been easier and cheaper to go into lost wax than it did in metal clay. But I enjoy the heck out of it. I like the scientific end of it. I like the data. I test all kinds of stuff. And I like trying to figure out how to make things that are supposedly can't be made. But I have a very short attention span, so I don't usually make the same thing twice. You know, I'll do goblets, and I'll do goblets until I get it down and it's perfect, and then I'm done with goblets. And I'm going to make hip flasks, or I'm going to make Pez dispensers, or I'm going to make screw top vessels. It's all something different. I don't have much of an attention span. Raging ADHD.
That's a common thing in artists. I think that's why we wind up finding our way to the arts. It's one of the few disciplines where it almost allows for it.
Yes, it does.
Right.
I think a benefit. I'm not as creative as you are. I mean, I'm amazed at your faces, and this stuff you do is really cool. I'm not as artistic, but I can engineer my way out of a paper bag, that's for sure.
You want to have
short balls.
Yeah, I'm good at that, and figuring out the shrinkage and calculating everything just perfect so it comes out. And I really enjoy that part of it. I enjoy the whole community. The people are very, very nice. By and large, there's not too many stick in the mud types. My personality is kind of a take it or leave it. I'll be, but I have a reputation for being a bit of a character and a sailor's mouth, but under control.
I gotta read you some of the comments.
One is, hey Michael and Michael, you like school shoes too.
Hello Michael.
Wow. And then yay, my favorite Michaels.
We're a plural.
Well, I think there's only like 4 guys in the metal play, and you're one of them.
I know. We couldn't even do a calendar of men of metal play, right? We're about 6 months into me done.
Yeah. There you go, guys. There's my shoes today.
It's got to be the shoes, right?
Oh yeah, I like shoes, and I'm pretty much a bum otherwise. It's like I got some cool shoes.
So what was the year
you saw DVD and metal play?
Pardon?
What was the year that you started metal play?
It's probably been 15 years.
Okay.
Years, somewhere around there. I can't even put my finger on it exactly. Every time, forever I was saying it's been 5 or 6 years, and then my stuff's coming up in my memories that it's 12 years ago.
Right.
Time flies. And I can't even tell you who the original DVD was by. I don't remember. It was a real short one, and to this point, I've never had a class. I've never read a book. I watched a couple of videos, and then I took off on my somewhat lonely journey to figure it out for myself. And I went pretty quickly from torch firing to, okay, I gotta have a kiln. I want to do base. I really like working with base metals.
Okay.
I like silver, but you can't do as ridiculous a piece in silver without breaking the bank. Nobody wants to get a little bit about it.
There are the customers out there that want the $1,500 goblet. You just have to find them.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm not searching because I don't have any avenue to sell the stuff. I don't really have anyone around me in this neck of the woods that does metal play. There's one lady downriver from me is about 45 minutes away, and I think she's the only one I've ever bumped into in Michigan that does metal clay. I'm sure there are more, but it's not as dense as it is on the East Coast, I guess. Yeah, I guess not. The clays, the Project X clays are really cool. I have plowed through about 150, 200 grams of it. Mostly the 925, which is, I love 925. I don't really do a lot in 999 because the stuff I make generally I'm looking for the strength and trying to keep the weight down. So I do a whole bunch of 950, 960. And I haven't tried the Flux clays yet because Carrie hasn't given me any. No, you can't buy any. It's, we're running inventory, so I'll get my hands on them eventually. But I did go through quite a bit of the 950 and the 950 and the 925, and a little bit on the 999, just doing some tests and posting shrinkages. It got a matrix posted. It's on most of the sites as well. What clay shrinkage is for all the different brands, and it's not an absolute number. Your number may be different than my number, but relative to each other, they're accurate because they do exactly the same way.
It's impressive to watch the level of detail and your consistency. I mean, it comes through in your engineering background, and it's super helpful to the rest of us who are not engineers to have somebody who's wired for it, because it absolutely has to be done the right way, or the data is meaningless.
It's meaningless. And I tell everybody, don't take my numbers. Do your own tests the way you do it, so you know what it is. But if you want to look at this clay versus that clay versus the other clay, mine are consistent, and I can tell you, I'll stand behind my numbers. I may have 15% and you may have 22%, but my 19% versus another one's going to be exactly the same. I'm very methodical, and that's from materials development. It's just ingrained in. I can't help it. It's a little silly, when you got for base metals, I do washers rather than strips. And that goes back to an argument. Actually, goes back probably 4 or 5 years ago. Carrie and I were arguing about whether holes get bigger or smaller, which sounds totally ludicrous. But we had this big conversation going. Well, in metal clay, when it shrinks, the hole get bigger or smaller. This gets smaller. Never, but it doesn't make sense. There were hundreds and hundreds of responses. Very respected people say no, the hole gets bigger. It has to, the clay shrinks into itself. No, it can't shrink into itself, or it will tear. The shrink force is not as high as the force required to tear, so it will shrink in. Going back in my background, many years ago, I was in a forging plant I ran, and one of the forging die engineers said, he's teasing me because I think I'm really smart. He said, I'm going to take this block of steel, I'm going to put a 1-inch hole in it, and I'm going to heat it up. How big's the hole going to be? The answer is it's going to be 1 inch. It doesn't get smaller. It can't compress any more than its solid state, so it expands out. So I made him go out and heat up the block of tool steel to 1900 degrees and get it ready to measure it. And I was a believer. It's not always what you think it's going to do. That was pretty fun. Pretty fun. So I'm really proud of Carrie and Cam, the work they've done. I've developed products, and the business I'm in now with this home decor, we design, manufacture, and distribute across the United States. And it's not an easy thing to develop a new product. And when you get down to the material level, like they're doing, that's just unbelievably complicated. Quite the undertaking. I'm still a little angry at her. She didn't tell me sooner, but I guess she doesn't trust me, and I don't blame her. I wouldn't trust me either.
I can't
speak to that, but you have a comment from Marianne Walker Monaco who says your testing is so informative. We appreciate all your hard work. So you have to know that the entire metal play community looks upon you with both admiration and fondness for all the, because it's not fun work, right? It's unless you're wired for it. All that testing, there's no aesthetic
joy. Yeah, there's a joy in the testing. I am wired that way, and thank you, Marianne. I appreciate it. I know who you are. Yeah, I've kind of developed this reputation for the guy that does tests. It's just me. You know, we did gold a few weeks ago. The Aura versus the St. Gold versus the new Cool Tools Gold, and I'm testing, but I'm sorry, guys. I'm not doing it for you. I do it for me. Air. I don't have any secrets. I screw up all the time. I post my screw ups too. You know, I don't want to get this. A lot of people just post the really good stuff, their successes. You see the really pretty piece, and there's 13 more pieces in the scrap bin that got them to the one pretty piece. It's a lot easier to learn if you post the hows, the whys, and this is what I screwed up, and this is what I did to fix it. I guess
I'm a firm believer in the idea that we don't really learn from our successes unless we're taking copious notes. We learn from our failures so that we remember what not to do in the future.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if I wish I had hung on to some of the things I made way back. I mean, it's almost comical. I think the first goblet I ever made was, what a disaster. It was dimpled and cracked and crooked, and I'd come up with a Rube Goldberg thing to stack firing pans inside the kiln so I could get enough height with the charcoal. It was terrible. I had a great time posting it. It's like nice. I have fun with it. Carrie's done a great job with the plays. I love the way they feel. I'm not gonna slam anybody else's clay, but some of the stuff that's out there is grainy, and I've always preferred PMC clay to any of the other silvers that are out there. And my one caveat was it was kind of sticky. I didn't like how sticky it was, and Harry's clays are not sticky at all. She managed to go through green things and rollers with no lube on them at all, which is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. You've done a great job, and then to cover that whole product line, and the oil paste and the water paste and the rehydrating liquid, and I'm glad somebody came out with the 925 because that was a huge hole for the people that do cuffs and stuff. If you don't have the 925, it's even with 950, it's hard to do cuffs that are going to hold up.
Right.
Not enough strength there, unless you're going to do something that's closer to a shackle. 27 pounds and material costs is on the roof. You do things at 925, you can keep your material costs down a little bit. Everybody isn't set up to do carbon firings, but it's not scary.
I think once you've done it a couple of times, it just becomes another one more step to add into the process, and it's fine.
Oh, exactly. I'm so used to, probably 90% of the stuff I fire is in carbon, because we do a lot of base metals and a lot of sterling. And if there's not a pan in my kiln, I have this really uneasy feeling. You look in the kiln, it looks empty. Stuff on the shelf doesn't feel right. On kind of the other end of the spectrum.
So I'm
going to field a couple other comments here. Joe, which you assume is Joanna Phillips, says, agreed, Michael brings his knowledge to the table for free and not looking for anything in return. Side note is also my knight in shining armor, smiley face. Jennifer Dexter asked, what did you find out about the Aura 22?
About the what? Aura 22?
Aura 22.
Aura 22 is not available anymore. I think you guys know that. You might find it somewhere out of Japan, but it's not being manufactured to my knowledge. And if you look on Metal Clay and Mixed Media, I think I actually posted that to all the groups. There was a test between Aura 22 and Accent Gold for Silver and the new Cool Tools 22 karat or 24 karat powder that you mix with the media. I've been an Aura 22 fan. I use a lot of it, and I actually didn't know Cool Tools was going to come out with another product, and I maybe carry the summer down the line, but gold's a specialty. I panicked, so I ordered 9 grams or a 22, which is like $1,400 worth of gold just to have it on the shelf because it was going to be gone. And I didn't like accent gold for silver, but they have a new version out, so I got the accent gold for. I got all three of them and tested. I still prefer ore than anything else, but the Cool Tools was really close second. And the accent gold for silver, I had issues with the application. It's real grainy, and it doesn't blend smoothly. And if you try and coat it with the second coat, it pulls up the first coat. It's not anywhere near as easy to work with. It's less expensive, but and the one funny thing I did find with the accent gold for silver, it comes not hydrated. You just add, it says just add water, but you're supposed to add glycerin to it too. The directions on the package I got was not current. And it was really great, like unusable, like trying to paint sand. And after it sat for 2 weeks, it wasn't so grainy. And I haven't figured that one out, but
so it's a slow hydrator.
Yeah, so rehydrate it, go put it on the shelf and let it sit. We've got some after 2 weeks, and it was mine. And the Cool Tools was good. It's a little different. It's a darker color because it was a 24 karat versus the 22 karat ore it was. But I liked it. I liked it. I had problems with that product at all.
So next comment, Robert Lopez. When I post my screw-ups, people sometimes knock me and mock me. I put them at the end of my videos as bloopers.
Well, I don't do videos, but that's a great idea. The problem with me would be my feature length film would be about 30 seconds, and the blooper reel would be about 20 minutes. I have fun with successes. That's funny, Robert.
We have a question from Marcia Callahan. How do you clean your kiln after using carbon? It makes a mess.
How do I clean what?
Your kiln after using carbon, it makes a mess.
Okay, well, here's your tip of the day. It shouldn't mess up your kiln at all. I'm guessing that it's your firing pan that is messing up your kiln, not your carbon, because the carbon's in the pan. It's not supposed to go anywhere. But most of the firing containers out there they spall badly, and black dust all over everything. There is a easily available firing container from Bullwrath, and I've posted it multiple times. It's a Bull Super Pan 5, and it's like $22, and it doesn't spall. And my kiln is clean as a whistle after I do carbon. It's also much heavier. I keep giving them away to people, but so I'm probably on about my 6th one, but they hold up forever. They're much heavier gauge. They don't spall. They're not expensive. You buy one, buy one forever. They're on Amazon. But you want the Bullwrath Super Pan 5.
Right.
And it's 300 series stainless, so the alloy is a 300 stainless, and that doesn't spall. Most of them are 200 series stainless, and they spall like crazy, and they make a god-awful mess. And they eat themselves alive over time. Eventually, all warped and twisted. And, I'll get a year or 2 years out of Dan doing 5 or 6 firings a week. Of high temp stuff. So that's the best way, and then the best way to clean your kiln is just to shop it.
Okay, so there's one from Julie. Some are saying that they're smoking during the firing. Why would that happen? I've been working with ACS and PNC and never had smoking during firing. Am I misunderstanding something? So I guess.
And silver?
So she's saying people have commented that there is smoke during firing of the ACS. I'm not sure.
There is a little bit. I mean, it's much more difficult with the torch fire than if you do it in a kiln. If you leave your vent plugged out, you just really don't notice it as much. When you torch fire it, you see it. There's a big plume coming up. But all of the clays, the binder burns off. Every clay. There's no difference between them. It's not toxic. It's just basically cellulose. It looks like burned paper. Won't hurt you. While we're on that topic, there's a common thing that was going around. some discussions on it about aluminum hydrate. People think it's just the worst thing in the world. It's like radioactive waste. And this came from screw-top vessels, actually. They use talc, they use aluminum hydrate on the thread so that it releases and doesn't fuse. Because if you screw the top down really tight, it can fuse. It'll come loose, but it does fuse. Aluminum hydrate's not toxic. It's better for you than talc. Talc is considered a carcinogen. Aluminum hydrate is strictly a dust problem. So it's no worse than common dust. An old woman actually said she was taking her kiln outside to fire when she had to have aluminum hydrate because it's so toxic. You can pull away. And I posted the MSDS sheets. It's harmless other than it's a particulate. Greek file would do the same thing to you. Anyway, just do that. Wanted to throw that in.
It's always appreciated because I still because I have been doing metal play for so long, it's still my preferred firing medium for supporting pieces because it works better for me than vermiculite ever has and has never left texture on the metal. But the funny thing is because I've been firing the same pans for so long, it's probably a 50-50 mix of aluminum hydrate and spall.
And it actually is a great medium for supporting pieces. Spall is denser, and so it's black in color. But man, it doesn't leave anything on the piece that can't be brushed off. I just roll with it. But I will be buying one of those bull wrap pans bookmarked in my to buy list on Amazon.
Yeah, they're not expensive. I think the last ones I bought a couple 4-inch high pads. I have an SC3, so because I do some bigger stuff.
Right.
That's the reason I got an SC3. I'd rather have an SC2 for most things, but you can do a little taller pieces like goblets. Yeah, I use it now for threads for release. The aluminum hydrate's just as fine as the talc. It doesn't need it. Just don't be scared of it. It isn't going to hurt you, and especially for something like coating threads. It's not going to jump out of the bag and your hair's going to fall out. You're going to have radiation therapy for the rest of your life. It's harmless.
You might grow a third eye in your forehead. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, don't snort it. It's not coke. You got to be reasonable. But put your face in it. Don't dance in it. But I mean, it's not going to hurt you.
Right.
If you didn't do anything to it, it isn't going to do anything to you.
So I'll tell you a funny story. I've been doing metal play so long.
It used to be that they recommended that if you wanted,
let's say you were doing a link chain. There were people using actually dry investment powder in between the links because it's inert and it prevents the sticking. And back then, enough people had investment powder around because usually they were commissioned jewelry. So yeah, it's interesting because it's gone through so many iterations of what do you use to prevent it. Everybody's got there's probably 3 to 6 different items that I've heard about over the years as solutions for this exact problem.
Yeah, I've cornstarch and corn. Whatever floats your boat.
Right.
Pull up the material safety data sheet. It's nothing but a dust issue. It's not an agenda. For that matter, talc isn't either. The only reason the lawsuits happened with talc is because Johnson & Johnson had asbestos in their talc.
Right.
This is a problem. I wouldn't use asbestos to keep your stuff from fusing. That will jump up and bite. But talc isn't hurt you. You know how many people do you know that have cancer of the hand from putting talc on? It's harmless, and especially in the tiny quantities we use. I think I've got maybe 3 or 4 ounces of aluminum hydrate, and it's the same 3 or 4 ounces I've had for like 4 years. It's not a consumable. It doesn't come out of it. It's used to support pieces like you do, or as a release, just on kiln shelves for anyone who's fired open shelf, or threads. It works wonderful. You have clay threads, dip in the thread in it, and it works as a wonderful release, and it's very, very, very fine, so it doesn't give you a gap in the threads. There's no issues with it.
So,
You
Michael,
can-
while I have you,
so I'm gonna key it in so that people see it in the chat. It's the roll wrap Series 5 Series 5 fan, right?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure it gets out to everybody. So can I ask you to kind of bring me up to speed on where you are in the pest dispenser project right now?
Actually, I'm dealing with shrinkage, and it's a little difficult because I'll tell you where I was. I was trying to make a very primitive looking pest dispenser with Terry Story's head on top. So, I probably should have brought it with me, like I said. I did get the primitive pest dispenser, but Terry's head's a little too small. And it's because I have to deal with the pest dispenser shrinking and the candy not shrinking. So I had to scale everything up. But I actually have a functional pest dispenser.
That's awesome.
Too small. And now that Carrie's got her own line of clays and silvers, I know her head's much bigger than it used to be. I'll have to refine it. I will get it to work. I just got crazy busy. I have a few other projects going too, not in metal clay, other business things going. So it got a little hectic, and it's very close, but not quite there. What I did bring, this is one, I did it on, and this is,
Oh wow, that's gorgeous.
This is a screw top. It's a hollow top on it, and a hollow vessel. And I did this as a product on metal play and mixed media. You can see there's threads on the inside. This is also good. I'm not used to holding up stuff like that. Remember? That's hot as well.
Wow.
And that file that I uploaded to Joanna Phillips' Metal Play World site is covers making this, and it also covers making a very large vessel, about 6 inches tall, in bronze with a bigger thread. It's probably about 10 inches tall, actually. Maybe not. I don't know. It was 2 pieces. It was very, very large. So this is covered in detail. You can get on our site and download it from the file section, and it'll tell you all the ways to generate threads. And there's not a lot of ways to do it. Everybody has to do it. Because I have an engineering background, my favorite is caps and dies. I like tools. Most people don't do that. They use, this is a good example. This is, you can go to the hardware store, it's just a stainless steel bolt. It's really easy. You can make both the male and female threads out of bolt and nut. The bolt itself, this can be just screwed into wet clay, and it can be fired in the clay. Stainless steel will not adhere or center to metal plays, any of them.
Right.
And so you actually, for the bolt, you can do female threads by just screwing the bolt into the clay and firing it that way. Leave the bolt in there. If you pull it out, it's going to shrink and it's going to get too tight. But you'll get a really good, crisp, tight thread when you fire the clay because it's going to shrink around the bolt and come in pretty tight. For the male section, it depends on the project. I either use a tap and die set. If you have small bolts or small threads, it's hard to use a die to cut the male threads.
Right.
It likes to break. You get a little drag, and if it's a tiny thread, it doesn't work too well. So what I do is I pack a bolt. This is same size bolt. I just did this last night. That's just copper clay. You pack the bolt, so it looks like that. And before you pack it, spray a little release on the inside of it, and put a drop of water in the threads. Just one drop. Spin it around, pack it with clay, and when I put, this is a fairly good sized bolt. That's so you can twist it out. I just put an indent on it so that you can use it like a screwdriver and just unscrew it. I just did this last night real quick. I just packed it, back it out like it's a regular screw.
Nice.
Really nice, tight
Yeah,
threads.
it's beautiful.
Now when you, actually this place is still really soft. When you fire these, no matter how you create the female threads, whether you use a bolt and loop the bolt in it, or if you use a tap, fire the two together because they're both going to shrink. They won't stick together. They will hydrate on it. And one of the tricky things is to get if you have something like this, where there is a front side and a back side, it's getting the threads so that it lines up for it.
Right.
Yeah, so you want to do that in the play state, and you want it tight, and you want to fire it in position, and it'll line up perfectly and do that with thread. What I usually do when I pack a nut, I put a little disc on top of it. I don't try and make the threads on the actual top of the disc. You can if you want to, but this is much easier. You can get the length you want and get a nice big fat flat bonding surface and just stick it on there. Clock it if it doesn't clock quite right. And actually what I'll do is I'll screw this threaded part in, and then I'll take my disc, put it on top, clocked, get it tight, and then we'll take whatever the stopper is on the top. So you get my clock on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're lots of fun. It's a bit of an engineering product. If you want to, if you're just messing around, I just go and get a couple stainless steel nuts and bolts and start from there. If you get further down the line and you want to do a really good, hard thing, for the female threads, a tap works much better.
Right.
And a tap and die set, you can spend anywhere from like no money to $1 gazillion.
Yeah.
No money's better.
Yeah, so it's Harbor Freight.
Yeah. Which one? Let's see that.
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah.
It's $24.
Perfect.
Now, I wouldn't want to rebuild an engine with it or tap cylinder. But you're cutting clay. These are just the cut metal. All you need is the basic tool, and so the cheapest one you can get is the best. The cheapest, I think it was $25.
Nice.
I have a really nice tap and die set. It doesn't ever see clay. It's strictly for doing aluminum cast. My good tools for doing that. But this, I'm a tool junkie. I love good tools. This is one case where good tools don't do any better than the cheapest thing you can find. If you can find it for $1 at a garage sale, it'll work. You don't have to spend a bunch of money. Not at all.
Nice.
Yeah, and then like I said, the hardware store works great. You can browse the aisles, get stainless steel because it won't stick and it won't rust. And it's a mess with, and you can fire it in place. I've done some other stuff embedding stainless steel bolts and things to join pieces together. So you can actually fire threads into a piece and then thread pieces into it and then use that as a joint, like I've done with the goblets, or the goblet, where it's a stainless bolt and you just fire threads into it. It's a very useful thing. Lots of good stuff at the hardware store for fire. You can also find, if you're doing base models, you can actually do it silver too, if it's not visible. It'll be a different color. I get copper and bronze ring shank boat nails. They make great in bevelers. They're perfect. They are absolutely perfect. Not what it's designed for, but I saw those one day and I'm like, that's like, it's a ring shank nail, so it's got all these little ridges on it and it grabs like crazy. And bronze or copper, and it's like $2 for 80 of them. Last you forever. Lots of good stuff in the hardware store. We have one of those old school hardware stores by us that has the trays. The little,
I love those trays. I get all my figures on there.
They have the biggest section I have ever seen. It's like porn from going in there. They have bearings, all bearings. And that's one of the other things I'm working on right now. I have a pendant I'm trying to do. I got way into it when I was waiting for parts, but trying to incorporate thrust bearings in it so that it spins.
Nice.
So really little tiny ball bearings.
Right.
Inside a pendant, it's a locket with the inside will spin and the top will spin, so it's double sided. I'll get back into that movie.
Nice.
Weird stuff.
No, cool stuff.
Always
Cool
cool stuff from you.
Almost as weird as your faces.
I don't think there's hardly anything out there as weird as my face is, but you know, I'm trying.
Yeah, no, I know. I love your faces. I come once in a while. Oh, that's a good one.
I always enjoy your comments. It's something I live for.
Yeah, you get some pretty demonic stuff going on.
Hey, just the way I'm wired.
Yeah. Everybody got their experience, I guess. I don't know what else to talk about.
No, Michael, you've done a great job. I really
appreciate your time. I appreciate your expertise. I appreciate your wisdom and your patience. And it's been wonderful having you on. Good luck at the sale today.
Try to get some more. And
I will be talking to you soon.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it all.
Michael. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.